Hi there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of MultiTalks, where we get to host some of the best minds in the media industry. They get to share their secrets, how they got to be where they are, and we also unpack some of the great initiatives that we have as the MultiChoice Group. We also give you access to some of the key minds who make us Africa's storyteller. My name is Sipho Ngwenya, and welcome to MultiTalks. This episode's guest is no stranger to storytelling. Her journey began on the MultiChoice Talent Factory, an internship program that hopes to bridge the gap between tertiary education and formal job experience in the industry. Here to speak about the impact of the MultiChoice Talent Factory and the role that it's played in her life from being an intern to being a fully fledged commissioning editor, please let's welcome Gcinashe Baruza. Gcinashe,
Hello.
welcome to the MultiTalks.
Yes.
You are one of our very first guests, right? In our previous episode, we had someone from, the Disky Challenge telling us all about its impact on development for South African football, right? So today we're still keeping it within development, but we're talking MultiChoice Talent Factory. Before we get our hands dirty, please just tell our viewers who you are, where you're from, and why you decided to entertain the idea of being involved in this crazy
Industry, and it is crazy. Gcinashe Baruza, born and raised in Gqeberha, well, called it Epai back then. Always
GQ.
did. Yes, and you understand. I still say Epai in my head, like it's giving Epai. But I've always loved the arts. That was my passion. Growing up, I wanted to be Meryl Streep. So into directing, that was not my portion. I'll watch whatever I'm watching, and then when the credits go up, don't call me. I don't know. I'm out. Because now I'm going to go practice
Oh, wow.
what I just saw my Meryl Streep doing. So it's always been my thing. I wasn't really academic. So I always knew that if Imaxi are doing this, let me just make sure when it's time to do extramural activities, that's my vibe. So I guess it naturally came to me. I loved it. And then I was able to then take it as a subject in drama around grade 10 and I had to fight with my parents. You're going to be a doctor. I said, there's a guy, no, you're going to be a doctor. You're going to be, I said, listen, what we can do, I'll act as a doctor. I can act as a lawyer. Because I'm not coming. If you look at my marks, it's not giving. So I think my mom watched me do hairspray once. My mom's like, you're actually good at this thing. I'm like, I've been saying this. So I guess that's where now the confidence to want to be in this industry started. And then from there, varsity, then Magic in Motion, and then the internship here. And then it's just been a great experience because it's everything I wanted. And now it's actually happening.
So now listening to your story, you're kind of like painting a picture of someone who was more interested in being like the actor, right, in storytelling. So what made you then transition to going behind the scenes?
You know what? I didn't know about the behind the scenes. So that's all I knew was acting. When I went to AVDA, you are forced to do two things. So you can do performance, but then you must take other television or film. I didn't want any of that because I don't know it. They're like, no, it's a must. I took television producing and I was like, this is fun. It kind of had everything that I wanted to do. You get to create something, you get to write it, you get to pitch it, and then you bring it to life. And I was like, okay, what is this world? And I had a great lecturer at that time. She's now the dean that side with Dion. And she would push me. She says, Nash, you got something. Just do it. I'm like, okay. So I started doing budgeting, call sheets, and that's when I started to learn behind the scenes. But I still didn't know enough. But with producing, something sparked in me. I was like, I don't know what this world is, but I really want to be here. And I guess that's when I was like, okay, I'll take a different route. Because I feel like with performance and acting, that's just a God-given talent that I think I have. And I could always go there. But I knew with producing, I needed to learn. So, and I guess that's where then Magic in Motion came in. Because when I entered, that's when I actually got to find out what this industry was about. And yeah, I wasn't prepared. I was not prepared.
Okay, well, it sounds like a very interesting journey so far, right? But now, before we get into that part of your life, right? You, firstly, congratulations.
Thank
you. In your appointment as acting commissioning editor and scripted. Someone who's watching there now might be like, commissioning editor, what does it actually mean being a commissioning editor?
Everyone sounds like my dad because till today my dad doesn't know what I do. All I know is that my child is famous, they have a MultiChoice.
Yeah.
But essentially commissioning editing is we are like project managers. So we source the proposals that come in. We work hand in hand with the producers, and we kind of oversee the whole project from the beginning. When you are sifting, when we are pitching, give them notes, give them feedback, and then we help them try to mold the story into what channel, MultiChoice wants. And then we work with them through scripting, through treatments. I'm giving feedback, we're discussing the story. So it's very, very collaborative. And then I oversee them through production. Are we on budget? Are the call sheets right? Is everyone that's supposed to be there? We're approving the crew. We're making sure the cost is what we're looking for. And then when it comes to the post side, we are watching every cut, giving notes and everything. So we need to literally make sure that what you promised at the beginning is what is being executed. So I'm the go-between channel client and the producers, and we work hand in hand until we deliver the 4 minutes on air.
Sounds like a very big responsibility, right?
Yeah.
But now what pressures then do you get, right? Because you essentially, like you said, you're a project manager. I was managing the whole process, right? What challenges then do you then encounter with such a big responsibility?
Oh, it's challenges every day, because the minute the production or whatever the proposal is commissioned, it becomes your responsibility. So the pressure is to first make sure we actually have it in the building in time. The responsibility of making sure we stay on budget, because I mean, the budgets can go up and down, and you need to just make sure that you're on budget, because there's no extra money to go redo whatever that is that you need to do. And then the pressure is to make sure that it's serving. Is the audience into it? Do they love it? Is it looking good for the company? And I think for me, that's the biggest pressure, because I'm just like, if people don't like it, then what am I doing? What did I do wrong? And it's hard to serve Zanzi audience, because our audience is sophisticated. They know what they like, they love what they like, and they're very vocal about it. So I think for me, the biggest pressure is to make sure you have anything that's groundbreaking that's on air.
All right. Well, we'll go more into that a bit later. But for now, let's take it back, right, to your first days. Joining Magic in Motion, as it was called back then, now called the MultiChoice Talent Factories. You enrolled, for this program. Tell us about those, those early stages in that.
Yo, where do I start? Because I will never forget. I'll start from my interview. My interview was stressful. So I was in PE, and they gave me the call. They're like, hey, please come through to do an interview. I said, I'm ready. I'm there. But the interview's in Joburg. I said, wait, what am I going to do? My parents, everyone, we're calling everyone, hey guys, let's put money together. We need to get this girl to Joburg. She has an interview. So I went to the interview. So they have a laptop, and they play a scene out of Rockville. Rockville is one of my favorite shows, right? I'm thinking it's for my own entertainment. I'm there watching, I'm like, oh, okay, because I'm waiting, whatever. And then I hear someone else's interview, and she's laughing, and people are enjoying her. And I'm like, yo, immense, because I'm not that funny.
That's putting pressure on the...
Yeah, the thing is, I'm funny, ne? But when I have to be in a professional setting, I am not funny. She walks out, now it's my turn. I walk in, now the interview starts. And then they're like, so with what you just watched, can you give us your analysis? I said, sorry, you're my what? Please give us an analysis. And I was like, hey, I was watching for entertainment. I didn't know this whole time it was a test. But because I loved the show itself, I was able to answer. But during that interview, there was a point where, I was told that I may be out of my league, which was true. I really didn't know much of the South African industry. So essentially, I thought I didn't get the internship. And then fast forward to the call, they're like, you made it. I said, are you serious? They're like, yes, you made it. Those first 3 months were very difficult for me personally, because I was going through imposter syndrome. I thought, I'm not supposed to be here. I don't know much. All my other colleagues are so talented. They're so bright. They're answering. They know who's who. And I'm just sitting there like, wait. I'm like, this has to be a joke, because I don't know how I got this far. So it was a lot of trying to convince myself that this is exactly where you're supposed to be. But it was a great learning experience, because I got to meet so many people in the industry that I didn't think I would be sitting next to. So yeah, those first 3 months, I'm not going to lie, it was, amazing, but very tough.
Now, talking about that nerve-wracking interview, that it sounds like it was, what are some of the skills that you think that in that moment got you through, that are also relevant in terms of being like a commissioning editor?
I think it's my passion for this industry. I've always wanted to be in this industry. It's not even a joke. Like, whether it was behind the scenes or in front of the camera, I just wanted to be in this industry. And I know that I have great work ethic. And I just know that if I'm given just a chance to learn something, I'll be able to do it. And I think in that room, because even me, I was getting a bit frustrated because I'm like, oh my God, they think I don't know anything. And I'm like, this is why I'm here. I just want to know. I just want to learn. I don't fall apart. I have great work ethic. I love this industry and I just want to know what can I do to make it. And I think maybe they saw that passion because that's one thing about MultiChoice Talent Factory. It's about the passion. If they know that they can work with you and mold you to whatever you want, that's all they need. So I think that's what really stood out.
Okay, cool. So in the program itself, right?
Yeah.
12 months, you're there. What are the skills now that they equip you with?
Yeah.
So that you walk out there feeling very confident in yourself.
Yeah.
And also, one day becoming something in the industry.
Like an acting commission.
Like an acting commissioning editor, of course. Yes.
Yes. First things first is that they actually teach you how to put a proposal together.
Very important.
Very important. I mean, we did it in varsity, but the way they were able to structure it for channel, because I didn't even know what that was. So they're like, hey, you're going to pitch to channel, so they're going to look for this and this. So they teach you how to put a log line together and how to put a synopsis, but how do you make it compelling enough for people to just grab into it the first time they hear it? So I think that's one skill that I've carried with me till today, because I have to now also read these proposals. The second thing I think would be, how do you put together a production while having to serve a big broadcaster like Mzansi? Well, MultiChoice as a whole. I mean, they're running this industry in South Africa, so you kind of want to build those relationships. So I think those were the first two things. And then I did produce the first film.
Okay. Okay, nice. And?
The stress, it was so stressful because it was the first movie as a team, and it's our first movie in our group.
Okay.
And I had to be the line producer. And I said, yo, because now I'm working with budgets that I've never seen. I'm seeing money that I've never seen in my life. So now you have to work with that. And then you need to now work with crew. And the crew is not necessarily people that are in the internship with me. This is their livelihood. So they
Also, you get to work with professionals
yes.
while you are in the
Yeah.
internship.
So you have to find your sound person, because we were still interns, but we still needed to produce a product that's going to be on air. So it's kind of that thing of managing the risk at the same time, but it's a great opportunity to also learn. So you have a professional sound person, but you want to know how to do sound.
Yeah.
You work with that person.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was doing line producing. So I got to work we were supervised by Brom at that time.
Okay.
And it was tough. It was tough because I really didn't anticipate, like I said, I didn't know much about this industry. So when you're throwing words at me like first AD and this and that, I'm like, who are these people and what are they supposed to do? Like, without all these people, you don't have a production. So I guess it was learning those, but learning each job description in terms of how does it work, building relationships as well. I think those are the biggest skills that I wish I took more seriously in the program. They really emphasize on make an impression. So we get to go in different placements. They say make an impression, whether it's just a wardrobe HOD, whether it's a production coordinator, make an impression, because once you leave this internship, this is where you're going to be working. And that's the one thing I really didn't do well. I was so timid that I was like, yo, when I left, I was like, I should have maybe put myself more out there.
There's just two more questions that I want to just ask you related to the MultiChoice Talent Factory itself. One is from what I think is the vision, right, of this internship, which is about bridging the gap between education, formal education, and now real life experience, right? Do you think that they are actually doing a good job at that, looking at past alumni, etc., who've been through the same?
Oh, absolutely. I always say this: without this internship, I wouldn't be here. This internship introduced me to channel in the first place. I think if you look at the alumni even now today, if you look at Temba and Nandi, Temba is the head director for adulting. He did Youngins. He even did Outlaws. He started at the internship. And even if you listen to his story, he also was someone who was not sure about this internship, And because of this internship, he made these different relationships, especially with even Chetza. If you look at Nandi was the head writer on Youngins. And Nandi's been writing with Chetza, but this was the first project she did, head writing. And that was because she went through the internship. She was able to make those relationships. So even the alumni today, they're more confident to start their own production companies instead of going the other route where you start from the bottom, you build yourself up. They have more confidence in knowing that I'll start my own production company, I start submitting. And we've had so many of them, successful ones, Fourth Cycle, Nkululeko, they've done over 7 movies with their own production companies. And you start there and you get to do series, Showmax movies after that because you've built that relationship. So I will definitely always advocate for this thing because I genuinely didn't know anything before that internship, and it really exposed me to so many opportunities and people.
Now, just going back to what you're just saying now around, there's many ways to skin a cat, right? So your way of doing it might not be somebody else's story, right? But we all get there at the end of the day. What I want to know is from a positioning point of view, right? So you went through formal education, and you went to AFDA, which also is an institution that's meant to prepare you for industry, right? But then you also then did the MultiChoice Talent Factory, right? What then is what is the difference between the two in your view?
I think for me, it was MultiChoice Talent Factory focuses on the South African industry. They want to build the new players of this industry here. How do we tell our stories bigger and better? And I think for me, that was the difference. In university, we learned here and there, but it was just very broad. And whereas with this internship, they showing us how do you make your own stories? Who are the players in this industry? How do we make? I always say I want one day to create like Mzansi would, and I think that's what this internship does really well. Is that honing that skill and making sure that we prepared to come tell more and bigger and better African stories. And I think that's the big difference.
What more do you think can be done though by this initiative?
It's hard to say what more they could do because I really think they're on the right track. And I think what makes it different is the groups each year. Each year's group is very different and they're more hungry. And I think because of the success of the internship in the first place, people are feeling more confident that if I start here, I know I'm going to make it. So each group is more confident, they're more hyper, they're more hungry, and they are taking risk with the movies. And I think what I've enjoyed with working with MultiChoice Talent Factory is that every time they propose movies to us, it's something that we'll never do or even think of. And they have ways. It's more technical now, which I really think is really dope, where they have their own equipment. You can go and shoot things before you even come to pitch to us. You say, how are you going to pull this off? They're like, I'm glad you asked. If you look over here, we shot this, and this is what's going to look like. And you're sitting there like, oh, nice. I can't argue with that. So I don't think it's something they could do better. I think it's what they continue to do, but just keep pushing. You find so many gems in these young upcoming filmmakers that they make the internship. So yeah, I wouldn't really necessarily say they could do more. I think they're on the right track for sure.
All right, cool. So now let's bring this thing internally, right, to where you specifically work now. So from when you started up to now, have you seen any changes when it comes to, gender opportunities, right? And then trying to kind of like level the playing fields, when it comes to that. Are you seeing more female producers, more female commissioning editors? Just talk to us about that in your
Yeah,
space.
absolutely. I think I'm privileged enough to be in a space where that's what I came into. So when I came in, it was just females all over, female bosses, CEOs, the channel director. Even now, our senior managers, 90% of them are women. And when I came in, it's the same women that really helped me with my growth. They embraced me. So I've never really felt like, oh, there's a huge change. So seeing women in big positions behind the scenes, it doesn't feel foreign to me. And I think even in our discussions with our team, because we do have males in our team, it's never a thing of, oh, are they female or male? How are they gonna? It's always a matter of how good are they? And what I enjoy about my sets as well, I think there's a show I'm working on right now where the second cam is a woman, focus puller, woman, second cam for adulting, female. So I'm just sitting there like, I'm not shook because we passed that stage, in my opinion. What's always nice to see is that they're holding it down. That's it. And for me, and that's what I look for, is that we're in a space where the women now are just running things. And it's not a gender thing. It's how good are you at that job, whether you're a focus puller, whether you're a producer. And I think even the anchors around these big shows, also a women series producer and line producers. And I think what I would love to see more, and something that we've spoken about, is to encourage the women to start their own companies. I think that's where the gap is seeing more females running their own production companies and then telling their own stories as well.
So, I mean, I can name quite a few, right? But and you're right in the sense that there aren't enough females in those kinds of roles, right? But now when it comes to the storytelling part of it, right? I want to know, do you think having more female leaders influences the types of stories that we are seeing on TV?
Not really. I think for us, it's always about the content itself and who's it serving. with the different so we have insight every other week. We get insight of who's watching our content, and then the results say that 90% of the people watching are women. Then we decide, okay, because we know we're serving women, do we make stories that are female driven, or do we go the opposite, where we know that we have that audience, let's try pull in the male or the youth? Then what do we do? So I really think our stories are not determined by gender per se, but what we need to serve and what we're trying to get out of whatever we're serving at that particular time. Hence why you saw the merging of adulting. That's the one show where as women, as Linda, they didn't care about food next to it. We're like, I just feel like that. Like, that's the problem. You're feeling too much. It's not about you. And I guess that's where Youngins came in, is that we didn't have enough youth shows either. So it's like, let's pull the people that we're still trying to reach. We have the women, but we still give them something, because those are our, loyal, viewers.
Of course. So just talking about that Youngins, right? Also just from a diversification part of storytelling, do you think that now that there's much younger commissioning editors, I mean, if I have to look at the history of commissioning editors, for some of our competitors and some of the free to air broadcasters, you'd find that the commissioning editors are quite more mature from an age point of view, right? You're talking about someone who's more like 50 years old as a commissioning editor. Whereas if you look at the multi-choice culture in terms of editors commissioning editing, it's quite a lot of youth there.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And do you think this kind of like also helps you guys from a perspective point of view in terms of storytelling?
Oh, yes. I think at the beginning, when I started as commissioning editing, even when I was an intern, I always thought I don't have a place. So during my internship, I was very much at the back, because I'm like, hey, I can't talk about divorce. I've never been divorced. I don't want to be divorced. But I'm saying, like, I've never gone through that. So, and they talk about motherhood. I'm like, I've never gone through that. So I always felt like, where do I place myself? Because end of the day, I'm trying to make sure that I make a big enough impression that they see me as someone to be in the team and to offer something. And I remember, the CEs were like, hey, you need to say something. Like, what are your thoughts on this? Because whatever you're saying, there's maybe 10,000 other people thinking the same thing. So what do you think? And I think once I was given that door open, that, hey, go for it, because my perspective could be very different. It's coming from a younger POV, which was something that we lacked already, and that was the gap we needed to fill. And I think with the younger commissioning editors, we come in and we see different proposals, and we're like, this would work, this would make sense. Or if that was my mom, I wouldn't want to. And I think it's been a change, but it's a good change, because even the movies that we're doing now, there's more of us that we are excited about the movies. So we are taking on these movies as if it's our own. So when we look at the proposals, we're looking at what type of proposal are they bringing and how is it different to what we've seen. And I think that's what, I guess, helps with being younger in the team, is that you're kind of seeing the world in a very different way, or you are more curious as well. It's, why would you do that, or why would someone act that way? And I think when we challenge each other like that, it really helps with just the development of the story as well. So yes,
Good. I mean, look, we can go on and on.
I'm just like, I want to say more.
But look, you're raising some very important, points, especially around relatability, right? If you can't relate to someone who's been married before, if you aren't married, right? But it does obviously give some kind of a different perspective, right, to many things, right? So it's important that everybody's voice is heard, especially in the ideation process part of this whole process. I want to know from you though, like, there obviously is a perception that a commissioning editor is the boss of the producer, right? So now, where you have to be the boss of someone with many years,
Yes.
how do you deal with that?
You know what? This was something that I actually dealt with as well, where I was like, Ish, are they going to take me seriously? Because you can easily undermine someone who's younger than you. Like you said, I've been doing this for years. I've been doing this as long as you've been alive. And now you're going to come in and say, I don't like your proposal. It doesn't make sense. So I was really prepared for that to happen. And I think having the support that I have from my team, the drama team, they always just they make sure, even when we enter the rooms, that, hey guys, this is my co-pilot. It's not this is just a junior, it's my co-pilot. We're working on this thing together. This is Nash. So already they kind of set the tone. But I think I'll use Young as an example, because it was the first show I did alone, where I worked with Chidza. And we know that Chidza's been in this industry for a very long time. And I've also worked with Bomb for Red Ink. And I remember walking to that room thinking, because I remember the story workshop was starting and I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. And they would keep looking at me. And I'm like, hey, did I say too much or whatever? But what I really appreciated was that they didn't treat me that way. I'll say the same for Bomb, is that it didn't feel like, oh, I'm just a kid. Whatever she says, it goes over her head. They embraced my position. And it's also not a boss of, we were working together. It's very collaborative. So we're both fighting the same fight. I'm very quick to, sit back and listen to what you have to say. And if it makes sense, then we don't have to fight about it and let's move on. I think because we all wanted the same outcome, it wasn't too much of a challenge or a battle. And I think I'm very grateful that I had those people because, I've looked up to them. So I was a bit skeptical. But I think just coming into that position, they really, really took me seriously. And I guess it's also like the testament of what I had to say as well and my thoughts. And I think, like I said, we're fighting for the same thing. We both want a great story. And because that's what we both wanted, there was no time of, oh, she's young or whatever. It's okay, how do we get this and how do we make it amazing? So I'm curious, how did you handle it when you also had to be a CE and work with all the CEs as well?
Look, I think for me, having a solid background in terms of the upbringing and, being taught the right things in life, respect, all those things, and that's what I normally lean into when I'm like, obviously, having to being confronted with a situation like that. But otherwise, I think when you've earned your stripes, and I earned my stripes in different spaces before joining MultiChoice, I think that's when then people had the respect for me already, right? So it wasn't kind of like starting from scratch. I had been presenting on TV for many years before, so in a way, I've been in the industry, right? But then when I became a commissioning editor, I think I think the social equity that I had prior to that definitely did help to navigate that kind of like situation. I remember having to, because I'd also been on I'd also been on Rockville and Bobby
In
Heaney,
front of the camera. So I show that thing.
and then Bobby Heaney was also what is it, like a supervising producer at the time. And now I was brought in, and also and I have just as a commissioning editor on the show, so it was quite weird going from you being my boss to now me
Yeah.
so being your boss technically. So that was a bit strange, but you mean you get over it.
Or something because you were always in front.
Hey, don't make this about me.
Yes, I've been wanting to ask, and I'm like, this is a perfect opportunity because they're on air. You can't say anything. One question, just one question.
Yeah.
What made you transition to commissioning editing?
I think for me, it was just trying to get a different perspective of storytelling, and also just growing a capability that I never had, right? Because there is no formal structure of you becoming a commissioning editor.
Agreed, yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's no courses like that. I mean, you either come from being a executive producer on a production of some sort with that experience, and then coming in. And I didn't have much executive production experience. I mean, I was a production manager on some other shows, but never as an executive, right? And then, um, I was like, there's something missing. Honestly, I was like, I've acted, I've presented, but there's something else that I really want to just kind of like put my hands on. And naturally, it was, producing my own, stories. But then when I got here, I thought it was going to be like a 2-year stunt, of just gaining that capability. But then I started falling in love with it, right? What advice would you have given yourself at the time, right? Knowing where this is going to go for.
I think I would have said embrace it. I would have said the advice I would have given myself was you are exactly where you're supposed to be and embrace it. Make as many mistakes as you can and don't feel bad about it. My biggest, I think, what I would have really done differently was embrace the mistakes and ask. I was so scared of asking questions because I thought it would make me look like I don't know what I'm talking about. Because already I feel like I'm at the bottom. Now, if I'm going to ask a question, they were like, oh, how did she get here? So I did a lot of self-doubt, self-sabotage, and not trusting myself. I think that's the second advice. Trust your gut feeling. Trust yourself because that's the whole point, is that they want to hear and see from you what is it that you're going to bring that's different. And whatever I'm thinking is different from what the next person is thinking. So I would definitely tell myself, embrace it, enjoy it, love it, make mistakes unapologetically. Bobby is there. You have Channel there. You have all these industry giants just sitting there waiting to teach. I know like Des is one of those people that they love to teach.
Yeah.
Ask them any question, Des will gladly say it.
Yeah.
Same thing with Gwilyn Park. They love to teach. Same thing with Sanele, who is a senior manager, loves to teach. Even you, because I remember when I was I had a placement, and then I got to just jump in with reality, and you guys had a pitch. I remember sitting there, and then you looked at me like, "What do you think?" I said, "Okay." And then I remember I asked the question. It was one of the proposals they did. So I'm just saying that the resources are there. People are actually there to, they're there to give you whatever advice you want. No one's going to hold back information. So those are the things that I would have advised myself.
And now this one is going to sound a bit weird, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, but I think it's needed, right? So tapping into your, early childhood in terms of wanting to be a part of the industry and not really getting the kind of support that you would have liked, right, from your family in terms of, motivating and pushing you to actually be a part of the industry. So this one is more for like those people, like, mothers and fathers out there who are not quite sure about, hey, should I be pushing my child, into this? What advice would you give them to kind of like give them the comfort that they need, that this is actually an industry?
It works. Number one, I'll say it works. I think with my family is because they didn't know anyone close to say it works. So they were just like, if you go to this thing, it wasn't a matter of, oh, we don't want you to, chase your dreams. It's just a matter of, we just want you to have a good life and be able to take care of yourself and us. So I think what I would say to the parents is that it actually works, and the more support you give to your kids, the better they become, because it becomes more than just me. I'm thinking of my family, because now everyone is betting on me, and you kind of want to give back to those people that started with you. And I think with me, I'm so grateful. There's so many times where I thought, you know what, this industry is a bit too much for me. I'm ready to cut. So that I had moments where I'm like, I can't do this. And it was the very same parents are like, no, you've come way too far. You're doing really well. This is not the time. Now is the time to now boss up and move. And so I would definitely say to the parents is just let your child do what they need to do and just be there to support them, because they will bring it back and they will make it. Because who am I going to talk to when things get tough? I need to go back to my parents. I need to go back home, and they rejuvenate you. They're like, no, you worked way too far. Let's go. So yeah.
Well, there you have it. I mean, I hope there were some, mothers and fathers watching this, because I think it's really an important thing for people to understand, that the South African television industry and film is an industry, right? And I think many people still don't take it as serious as you would with other traditional jobs like doctors. Nonetheless, that's not why we're here, to convince people. I want to ask you something, right? So you as the acting, commission editor on unscripted shows, etc., you obviously get to work on many different shows.
Yep.
What has been like your favorite production to work on?
Good, Janga. This question is tough. I love everybody. I love all my shows. But I'll say the one show that really did number on me is Youngins.
Okay.
I'm a Youngin, number one. But it was the first show that I've ever done where I was completely inside CE level. The first season, I worked with Lufuno, who's now the senior manager. And she looked at me, she said, listen, Nash, I am not a Youngin.
Yeah.
This is your project. I'll be here to supervise, do whatever, but this is you. So I would say Youngins for sure, because first of all, it was a story for the youth. It was also nostalgic. If you think he's like, it's very nostalgic. And we launched new talent. From having Nandi, first ever head writing, a big show, killed it out of the park. In the room itself, the writing room was alumni, MTF alumni. It was just amazing to see from different years. We're all sitting there and we're giving stories, and they're writing actual scripts, and the scripts are amazing. Then on set, we launched so many talents. The Olifants 5, even every cast member there was someone new, someone different. They're hungry, they're excited. So you can only imagine the energy on set as well. So I think the reason why it's so deep in my heart is that I was involved in every single process. I got to meet so many people. We got to launch so many talents, and we started something. I really think Young is a great show. I underestimated how big it was going to get. And it's doing the things. When people love it,
Well, why do you think people love it so much? Like, what is it about the show that's making such a huge success?
I think it's fresh. I think also it's nostalgic. From the time we watch User, you know that one show where you're about to watch User and your parents saying, hey, it's time to sleep.
Yeah.
And I think with Youngins, it has that element where the parents are like, hey, I'm not sure, because what are these kids doing? Go to sleep. And I think it's different. It's young, it's fresh. I think people also appreciate seeing new talent. We launched some really great, I mean, they've always acted, but this was the first time where this show is for the youth only. It's like you're part of this exclusive club where if you're not watching Youngins, then you're not cool enough. And I think that's what we created. We created that exclusive club that is different. The music also, it's amazing. It feels good. Like it's something that you can talk to your friends about. Like, hey, did you watch? I mean, I would say it's Youngins, but even people older, they're like, hey, I don't know what that show is about, but it's giving. And I guess the older generation has always been curious. What do these kids get up to at school? So I think it also serves in that they're like spying on their kids as well.
That's actually very interesting for me because, as you say, like when I watch Youngins, I can definitely tell that this is a young team working on this production, right? The tone of the story, just the fiber, the vibe of it, right? You can tell, Luti, I know here it's definitely young people, right? Which I guess is evidence of, why it's so important for us to have, more young people coming in, yes, into organizations like the MultiChoice.
I think that's the question I wanted to ask you as well, because you started so young. You've kind of seen both worlds. You started so young, and now you're in a position where there's younger people under you.
Yeah.
So what do you think is the importance of investing in younger talent in this industry?
Oh no, it's definitely important for me. It goes without saying, but I think investing it in the right disciplines is for me the question, right? So I mean, we know that Department of Arts and Culture are trying to change things in the way that the industry operates itself, but I sometimes feel like the we're not addressing the right challenges, right? And sometimes we're not even addressing the symptoms, or rather the real issue. It's just the symptoms of it, right? So with definitely investing into the youth, but making sure that programs like the MultiChoice Talent Factory actually are visible for everyone. Because at the time when I joined MultiChoice, to be honest, I didn't even know about the MultiChoice Talent Factory. Don't think, if I can just think about it from my own experience, there are many, internships and incubators out there for bridging the gap between, what you've learned and the real life experience, right? So I guess an initiative like this is definitely going about it the right way, where you're getting the real experience. And I think maybe then some of the other institutions, like your AFTERs, etc., maybe should relook at the way that they've positioned some of their courses. You know what I mean? Because I think there sometimes maybe is where the trick is missed in terms of people jumpstarting their careers.
Yeah. Do you want to start one? You should maybe start your own little Sanyan. We
We shall not.
Yeah.
Not. Okay, cool. So just in terms of trying to obviously just wrap things up, right? So we've spoken about the 10 years of the MultiChoice Talent Factory, how you started there and what you've seen change. What more would you like the guys to now do, right? Going forward.
Is this from now the intention? Is this? I would say, because passion goes without saying, they start because of passion. I just think they need to just risk a bit more, tell the stories that you want to tell. Like, don't hold back. I think that's what I would like to see more with the interns, even in the different placements they have. And I'll speak with the placement when they have with us, where you'd find that, like old Nash, they would sit at the back and just, wait for the turn.
That's any.
Yeah, they won't say anything. And I guess because they're scared of saying something that's off, which I don't think there's a thing in storytelling. So I would really like them to just own it and really be vocal in whatever space you're in. If you are being put in the wardrobe department, pretend like that's your job. Right then and there, 3 weeks, you are in and out, ask as many questions as you want, and just own that little role that you're in. So I definitely think that's what I would really like to see in the future of the interns, is really embracing whatever spot they're in and really ask questions. If you have to ask 20 questions 20 times, then just ask. There's nothing wrong. And I would encourage them to start looking at what they would want to do once they leave the internship. I think we get so excited that we stay here and then we don't think about, after the internship, where do I go? And I think with some of them, they were very intentional that by the time I'm finished, I want to come and produce movies for you. And they'll tell us. And I'm always very quick to be like, okay, this is what you're going to need, your documents for this. This is how you start your company, blah, 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 blah. And I think with, fourth cycles and Kulego, it was always a thing where before they just ended like, hey, Nash, how do I get my company, registered with you guys? So I would really, really push them to start thinking about their own production companies, because it is possible.
Okay. One final question.
Yes.
So acting, commissioning, editor.
Yes.
What's the end goal?
Firstly, to be a commissioning editor. So the acting position is for 6 months, and then see how I maneuver myself in this space. I think the end goal then is to definitely be a commissioning editor. And obviously, the success of Youngins, I hope it opens more doors for more youthful content. And I think that's the end goal for me, is to clap another Youngins kind of effect show. And then we'll see where it goes. I love this industry. And I might start my own studio. Who knows?
Oh, lovely.
Nashville, everyone
We'll
check
be
it.
looking out for that one. I bet. All right, Nash. Thank you very much for your
Thank
time.
you.
Really enjoyed this conversation. Wish you all the best. And he's seeing that name there. Gcinashe.
Please, guys, watch the credits so that you go right at the end, please see my name.
Good luck and all the best.
Thank you so much.
Right.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Well, there you have it, folks. That brings to a close another great conversation here on MultiTalks. Today's guest was Gcinashe Baruza, and we spoke all things MultiChoice Talent Factory. Please make sure to subscribe to our MultiChoice YouTube channel. With that, my name is Sipho Ngwenya. Until next time, goodbye.